Well, today marks a significant milestone in regional economic collaboration as Malaysia and Singapore launched the Johor-Singapore Special Economic Zone, or the JS-SEZ, now held in Johor Bahru. This joint business and investment forum has brought together key stakeholders from both countries, aiming to bridge economies, strengthen supply chains and facilitate smoother trade and talent mobility across both borders. Before we take you live to the Johor-Singapore Special Economic Zone Joint Business and Investment Forum happening at Persada Johor International Convention Centre in Johor Bahru, let's first explore the strategic importance of this. NADIA JALIL, Regional Head of Group Economic and Market Analysis at CIMB, joins me at this time, albeit from being in Japan. NADIA, thanks for doing this despite you being sort of clocked out of office per se. But let's get to it. How impactful is this collaboration towards driving economic growth for Johor and contributing to Malaysia's broader development goals?
Hi, Jessy. Good afternoon. Thanks for inviting me. Yes, it's going to be very impactful indeed for not just the South Johor economy, but Malaysia as a whole. As we know, this is a corporation that has long been in the gestation period and long been in the offing. Perhaps we can remember that the South Johor economic plan that then morphed into the Iskandar Malaysia Comprehensive Development Plan was launched in 2005. Under the auspices of the late Pala. And this collaboration between Johor and Singapore actually sort of was formalized, I would say, since then, and more concrete plans and actions were actually developed during that time period. And it's now coming to fruition in the sense that there are more, I would say, formalized and synergized plans to combine the economies of both Johor and Singapore together. So I would say as not just a catalyst, but also as the, I should say, the manifestation of a long-held plan for both countries. It's going to be extremely impactful for Johor in terms of launching it into a more value-added economic path.
Well, Nadia, as we discussed live as well, we are anticipating to take viewers to the press conference in Johor Bahru in conjunction, of course, with this collaboration, the Johor-Singapore Special Economic Zone Joint Business and Investment Forum, where expected to speak will be Malaysia's Minister of Investment, Trade and Industry, YB Senator Tengku Datuk Seri Utama Zafrul Tengku Abdul Aziz, as well as the Menteri Besar of Johor, Datuk On Hafiz Ghazi. We are waiting for that queue as well. In the meantime, Nadia, walk us through what kind of industries or sectors do you think or is expected to benefit most from this special economic zone?
Right. So if, from the beginning, South Johor was seen as the hinterland for Singapore in terms of its manufacturing sector. I think we started off with relatively middle to low value added manufacturing that had to move out of Singapore because of space constraints as well as cost constraints. That's now leveled up, I would say, in terms of both along the manufacturing sector's value added path. So if you think of electrical and electronics products, it's moved from just OEM manufacturing to perhaps more specialized equipment and medical. And I think there are quite a lot of medical equipment businesses that have moved from Singapore to Johor, as well as testing facilities. But then also we're seeing the emergence of other more value-added sectors along the technology space, such as data centers that have now moved actually from Singapore to South Johor. As well as services sectors, so health, for instance, as healthcare and as well as education sectors are moving, or really they're developing synergies across the causeway from Singapore to South Johor and back and forth. So really there are lots of symbiotic relationships that can be made within the same business and within the same sectors between Singapore and South Johor that could benefit both parties.
Well, of course, we're celebrating and observing this significant milestone in terms of regional economic, a joint venture forward, a partnership moving forward between Malaysia and Singapore. This is happening in Johor Bahru as we speak, and we're waiting for that moment to take viewers to the press conference. We're looking at strengthening supply chains, Nadia, as well as to facilitate smoother trade. And so on that note, how might this elevate Malaysia's role as a competitive economic player within the ASEAN region?
Exactly, and I think we have to think of South Johor and Johor and Malaysia as a whole as the gateway for Singapore to enter into continental Asia, right? So if we're talking about land transport, that's still important in terms of rail, in terms of the potential for the logistics sector in Malaysia to actually take on or really level up in order to meet the demands from Singapore, but also the wider Asia continent, and form that integral part of the value chain, particularly given the experience that we've gone through the past 5 years, not just with the pandemic, but also what we're seeing currently, right, in terms of having to restructure the global supply chain and the global value chains in the face of this trade war between US and China. So ASEAN is well positioned in terms of being I think that, not, I wouldn't say substitution, but also coming into the fore as a central part of the global value chain as a whole in order for companies to hedge against these emerging trade risks as well as global external risks. Given the fact that, whilst the US is China's third largest trade partner, and with the EU being the second, as a group of 10 countries, ASEAN is actually China's largest trade partner. And the trade, intra-ASEAN trade is most ASEAN countries' largest trade volume. So in that sense, we're completely well positioned. And Malaysia, as the president of ASEAN for this year, has an integral role to play in order to drive that transition.
Indeed, it is a momentous day as we see the fruition of the Johor-Singapore Special Economic Zone, where the Joint Business and Investment Forum is happening at Persada Johor International Convention Centre in Johor Bahru. And for our viewers, we hope to take you there to the live press conference that is about to begin. As you can see from some of the on-ground visuals from our colleagues who are on site, it's about to begin any moment now. Nadia, I know you are too out of the country, but what are your hopes and expectations of this special economic zone?
My foremost hope is actually for the special economic zone to actually act as one economic zone, a sort of seamless space where economic activity can happen, where there's policy harmonization and efficiencies that can be gained from that space itself, where there is possible, or rather the reduction of red tape, or so that's really the use of the special economic zone, right, in order to actually take advantage of the agglomeration effects, as we call it, in terms of the coming together of two economic centers that are in cooperation as opposed to competition with each other.
Nadia, thank you so much for joining us. We'll speak to you soon. That was Nadia Jalil, Regional Head of Group Economic and Market Analysis at CIMB. And later at 3 p.m, I speak to Chris Tan. He's well versed with economic zones. We'll continue this topic and conversation then. Well, I'm off to a quick break. I'll be back with more updates happening right here on Bernama TV.